So the first thing you're going to do is this. You're going to determine which is the right side and which is the wrong side of your fabric. The right side of the fabric you're going to fold to the inside, and you're going to fold it in half, lining up the selvages, and hopefully having trued the top, ripped it across the top so it's straight grain. And this is how we're going to lay it on the ironing board and start ironing. You want to hold your selvages together, line up the top, and you're going to press from the selvage towards the fold. Now, if you have a fabric that looks like mine, or looks like Esther's blouse, these are called yarn dyes, which means the stripe, they actually take fabric this color and weave it to get the stripe, which is different than a print, which is a print that's applied on the surface. The only reason I'm telling you that is that if I lined it up perfectly on the same line, that would be the straight grain, okay? So you want to be cognizant if it's a stripe or a check that you are folding it perfectly in half. And we're going to do the whole piece that you have. You're going to press it. And I'm telling you, this is a critical step. Prepare the fabric properly and lay out the pattern, and you're halfway there. Okay? Pieces and how we're going to lay out this. When I lay out a pattern like this, number one, I go through and I make sure that I know what all the pattern pieces are. I'm familiar with them. And I always work the same way. You always work from the biggest piece to the smallest piece. So you start by laying out the biggest piece, and you start playing with the pattern to lay it all out. You want to make sure that if you're working with a stripe or a check in particular, it could be a one-way stripe. It could be that it's not the same both ways, okay, top and bottom. This obviously is. A check could not be a balanced check, okay, not a tiny check, but a plaid like what you're wearing, you might have to lay it all in one direction, okay? So you lay from the top to the bottom, you lay the biggest pieces out, and you start playing with them. And then you're going to pin. If this is on the fold, you lay it on the fold. If it's not on the fold, you don't lay it on the fold. The back is on the fold, and you want to be very, very careful that you put your back on the fold. So if the back is on the fold, it goes along the fold. And then you're going to lay out all your pieces. So I'll play with this a little bit, and what you should get in the habit of doing is don't do any of this stuff in a rush. This is what the blouse looks like laid out. This is not pinned yet. This is just eyeballing the layout. Generally, the front and back is out at the same level. Then you have the collar, the facing, the collar, the yoke, the cuff, the side princess side panel, the sleeve, and the continuous bias placket. And there's actually only one collar pattern, okay? So that if you wanted to play with this a little bit more, you could probably move this around.
So there's only 9 pieces?
Let's see. I know 2, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, maybe there are 9.
There's 9 pieces.
So you could probably move this up here. Maybe this would come down here. Your bias piece would be here. But you can play around with these pieces how they go. What you have to be aware of is that you honor the grain line for all the pieces, okay? Which is to say you're going to pin them in the corners, and if they're bigger pieces, you're going to pin a little bit more often. So you pin all the pieces, and then you go back and pin in the middle, okay? You need to, if you have any kind of pattern, You're going to need to measure all of these unless it's a yarn dye and you're using the stripe as your grain line. Okay, everybody understand what I mean by that? Rather than measuring from the selvage, I'm using the lines as my straight grain because they are the straight grain, okay? Because they've been woven that way. Okay, so that's it. We're gonna lay all the pieces out, pin it, and cut it. Once you've cut all your pieces, you're gonna go back and piece by piece, you're slowly going to go along and cut all the notches. Now, these notches were done, they even have an end point. They're shaped like a T. So you want to make sure you do not cut any longer than these notches. And I'd say it's 1/8 of an inch, okay? No long snips. And so I go through each piece and make sure that I snip all my notches. And then on a number of the pieces, you have some markings to do. You have darts. Okay, so make sure all your pieces are notched. Once all the pieces are notched, we're going to do the markings, and we have markings on the back, and we have markings on the front, and we have markings on the sleeve. So for the back, you have this diamond-shaped dart, and you have a number of different ways of doing the dart. It's a diamond-shaped dart, and what you could do is you could push in pins into the corners of the dart, and I'll show you how to transfer it. There are different ways to transfer darts. We've transferred darts with a tracing wheel with carbon paper. We've transferred darts where we've drawn them in with pencil. And this way, what we are going to do is we're going to transfer these 4 points and connect the darts with straight lines. This is a little time consuming, but you really want to have these darts accurately marked. So here are our 4 points, and I'm going to do this with a washable marker. I'm going to mark the 4 points of the dart. And then I'm going to connect those 4 points with a ruler. It is a diamond-shaped dart. However you draw the dart, you want to be able to see it really clearly. I'm drawing the ends of the dart so I know very clearly where it ends. I would not do this with carbon paper because it will go through both sides of the fabric. And then I'm drawing a center line across the middle of the dart. Okay, so that is my diamond-shaped dart, and then I will complete it and do the same thing on the other side of the fabric. Remember, this is the wrong side of the fabric. For the bust dart, I'm going to snip the 3 arms of the darts, just like we did with the skirt dart. I'm going to mark the apex point with a pin, and then I'm going to connect these points with a ruler with my washable marker.
Could you use chalk?
You could use chalk, you wouldn't necessarily get as fine a line, but certainly you could do chalk. So then I have the 3 arms of the darts, and I'm going to connect the 3 arms of the dart to my apex point, and you want to mark all 3. And the last thing that you're going to mark is on the sleeve. You have a line right here that you need to indicate on the sleeve. So you can snip it like you do for a dart, and then just connect that point to the snip with a straight line. And that is it. And those are all your markings for the blouse, okay? So there are 3 pieces of interfacing: the facing, the collar, and the cuff. And those are the pieces get cut out of fusible interfacing, and you're cutting 2 of each. And just like you do with all your pattern pieces, you're going to honor the grain, meaning the grain is going to be parallel to the selvage. There are 3 pieces. You need 2 of each of them because you have 2 cuffs. You actually only need 1 collar piece, but I would just cut 2 collars and toss one, or give one to your friend, and 2 facing pieces. So these are the 3 pieces that need to be cut out of interfacing, and after that, you're done.